Before we start today's episode, I would like to quickly read you our podcast disclaimer. The content in this podcast is for general reference and educational purposes only. It is not meant to be complete or exhaustive or to be applicable to any specific individual's medical condition. No information provided in this podcast constitutes medical advice and is not an attempt to practice medicine or to provide specific medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. This podcast does not create a physician-patient relationship and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please do not rely on this podcast for emergency medical treatment. Remember that everyone is different, so make sure you consult your own healthcare professional before seeking any new treatment and before you alter, suspend, or initiate a new change in your routine. Welcome to The Starting Gate. We're your hosts, Dr. Kitty Dotson
and Dr. Sarah Sheets,
two internal medicine doctors who spent years practicing traditional primary care. Over time, we realized something was missing from modern healthcare. A real understanding of how everyday lifestyle choices impact overall health.
We'll help you cut through the noise of the countless health influencers and their conflicting opinions. Because no matter who you follow, the basics of lifestyle medicine are at the heart of it all.
Welcome to The Starting Gate. We're your hosts, Dr. Kitty Dotson
and Dr. Sarah Sheets.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed last week's episode with Dustin Jones and were able to get started on our weekly habit challenge that was inspired by Dustin telling us that we need to try to get out of breath for at least 1 minute every day. Our challenge this last week was to do body weight work for a minute and to try to do 5 of those a day. If you haven't tried that one, go ahead and try it. If you want to know more about that, check out betterhealthlibrary.com. And we have a free weekly newsletter where we can send you our habit challenges and a little bit about why they're important for your health.
This was a great time for me to reflect on the ability to do exercise just for 5 minutes, because if you are a Lexington listener, you may have been stuck inside with kids with the snow that we just had. So it just was a good reminder that no matter what the day brought, I could sneak in those 1 minute blocks in my schedule. Exercise doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to be, 30 minutes, an hour. Just moving in some way, shape, or form is helpful, because these winters are hard, and that's the whole purpose of this show today.
It is difficult to stay sane during these cold months, especially when we have snows like we just had and you're stuck inside. Winters in Kentucky are long. Our days with light are short. We can't get outside and do some of our relaxing activities we'd normally do. We might have ice still covering our sidewalks and not able to get out and walk our neighborhoods. So there's a lot of things going on that make this time of year really stressful. And so we're really hoping to help you with that today. And we're going to talk a little bit about seasonal affective disorder and try to help with surviving these winter blues here in Kentucky.
And we're so excited to have our guest psychiatrist today, Dr. Leslie Aslam. She is double board certified in adult and child psychiatry. She also went to med school at the same time that I did, and we are close friends. So I'm super excited to have her as a guest today. So thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Leslie. What made you even get into the field of psychiatry?
Kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. I'm just an obnoxiously friendly person. I'm a people person. I'm fascinated by what motivates people to behave a certain way. It's just always been intriguing to me. And so in college, I studied neuroscience, but it was the brain and behavior track. And then I was a teacher through Teacher America and really saw how if the kids' mental health wasn't there, then nothing else mattered. That was the ultimate priority. And it ended up actually purposely doing a mental health unit with my kids, and that inspired me to go to med school. I wound up at University of Kentucky for med school because of family reasons, but they happened to have a triple board program, and that is what really made a lot of sense to me, because it was kids, it was mental health, it was all things together. And so it was a residency in pediatrics, a residency in adult psychiatry, and then a fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry, and then I'm board certified in adult and child psychiatry.
Well, I imagine understanding pediatric mental health probably helps you in treating adults as well, since so much of that is usually connected.
What's funny is in pediatrics, we say all the time that children are not little adults. You cannot simply take what is meant for adults and shift gears and put it onto a child. But in psychiatry especially, adults are really just big kids.
Yeah, I believe that.
And understanding where maybe their childhood had such an impact and where they are now, because you've seen what that does with so many of your patients.
Can you tell us a little bit about seasonal affective disorder and just what somebody may experience during this time of year?
Right. So, well, technically, seasonal affective disorder does not mean for sure winter. There are actually some people who strangely have it in like the spring and summer months. But
I'd never actually thought about that before.
Yeah, it's truly seasonal. Like it means that you have a predictably recurring pattern of mood alteration that significantly affects your functioning. Right. So not everyone, but most of us get some degree of winter blues because we are hardwired to be up with the sun and down. We're supposed to kind of hibernate. So it is hard and it feels extra stressful to be going at the same speed, just like nothing's different when your body's wanting to rest, like you're exhausted. Right. So kids feel it too. Like they really do. They need to kind of rest more in the winter too, but none of us do. Like we all just keep on going. So your reserves are extra low. And when you already don't feel good, but so seasonal affective disorder is more than the winter blues. It's to the point where it is, adversely affecting functioning. You're feeling feelings of hopelessness. You're actually questioning whether or not you want to be here. That's when you start and, you see yourself kind of withdrawing from friends and family, kind of leaning into the things that are not helpful, but you just can't seem to muster the motive, just you're really down.
And so you may be experiencing just kind of frustration, fatigue, and that may just be really, we'll call it today, winter blues. And that's a little bit different from all the way to seasonal affective, where it's like really kind of causing an actual clinical depression for you. But hopefully what we'll talk about today will help you wherever you are on that spectrum.
Right. And it's all a range, and you can kind of ebb and flow. Some years are better than others. This has been a hard winter.
It has.
We're being tested here in Kentucky
I'll remind
this year.
This is supposed to be the coldest January in Kentucky in over 300 years.
So if you're feeling it this year, you're not alone, and we know why, because this is a very hard winter for us.
We will validate
it. Is, yeah. I texted Sarah the other day when it was another snow day from school, and I said, I am pulling out all the lifestyle medicine stops today to keep me sane.
She was going for walks. We were doing gratitude, all the different things. And we can talk about some of that today. But one of our big buckets that we want to tap into today is talking about light therapy and dealing with seasonal affective disorder. And I know you have had lots of experience with this with your patients. So can you even first explain what is light therapy?
First off, just to touch on there are multiple proposed etiologies for seasonal affective disorder and why we kind of slump in the winter. One of them is to do with our melatonin secretion, because it does actually seem to go up in a lot of people, particularly in women in the winter months. And so, your melatonin secretion is all controlled by your pineal gland, and that's this little guy behind your eyes that gets input from your retina. We are sensitive to light. We always have been. We are meant to be more active when it's daylight and be more resting when it's dark. If you guys have been laying in bed in the morning, I don't know what kind of light covering or, coverings you have on your windows, but if you have, say, blinds and there's just even a crack of light coming in, can you not tell, first thing in the morning what kind of a day it is outside? If it's a gray, gloomy day, even that one little crack of light, you're like, oh, man. I have to wear boots today. Versus if it's a bright, you can tell when it's a sunny morning, you really, even just innately, right? So we are very hardwired and sensitive to that. So basically, light therapy is trying to take the mechanisms that are supposed to slow us down in the winter and kind of hijacking them and tricking your brain into being like, ta-da, it's a glorious morning, up and at 'em. So by getting a high dose of bright light within that first hour of waking up, it actually does kind of trick your brain into being like, it's sunrise, yeah, get to it. It actually helps your melatonin and cortisol peak when they're supposed to, because all of that, it's a signal cascade that's all implicated with light.
And I think that's great to bring up this because so many people notice the difference in the seasons as soon as it hits. When we have those shorter days, you're like, something's going on with my kids. My kids aren't sleeping well.
Well, daylight savings also doesn't help.
That doesn't help. Personally, you start to notice that. So even if you don't experience seasonal affective disorder, we all start to notice the changes that are occurring, and that is because of the difference in our hormones. So that is great to bring all that up. You talk about bringing this bright light to start your day. Is there a way to appropriately make a difference?
Right. So the light officially is indicated for seasonal affective disorder, but you don't actually need to meet the disorder criteria to benefit from the light. It really is beneficial to anyone who's kind of sluggish in the winter. Buy a light box it needs to be at least 10,000 lux. That's the magic number. So my rule is 10, 20, 20. It needs to be 10,000 lux. It needs to be within 20 inches of your retinas. and you need to use it for at least 20 minutes, like 20 to 30 minutes.
And is it best you pop out of bed and you're having breakfast, or is it something that you should wait an hour or two later in the morning?
You want it within that first hour.
Okay.
And what's funny is that the patients and families of mine that use it most successfully often have it right next to the toilet, because that's frankly where a lot of people spend that first 15, 20 minutes in the morning. So if you just have it like mounted on your little sidewall, you don't want to be staring directly into it. Like, that's not comfortable. It causes headaches. Like, that's not the point. It's supposed to be indirect, exposure within 20 inches to your retinas. So most people sit on the toilet and scroll on their phones. And that is completely fine. You can do that. And the light, as long as it's like near you, you're benefiting from it. So that's the most successful option that I've heard from families.
I think every colorectal surgeon is cringing
like,
right now.
no,
Who tells you never to sit on the toilet more than 2 minutes at a time.
But that's where a lot of people, I've heard from a lot of my younger patients that it is a very effective makeup mirror. So if you have it in the bathroom, you just kind of I can think of one girl that has it mounted on her mirror. So it's almost like a ring light. Like, it's.
I had actually seen
a great idea.
And on social media, someone that had that in their bathroom, and I was like, "Oh, that is a great idea."
Right.
You're blowing your hair dry, putting on makeup, etc. That you can get that light.
It sort of feels like a window.
Light. Yeah.
It's sort of. Now, if you're are you really 20 inches from it? If you're blow drying your hair, probably not.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you want it to be 20, 30 minutes. If it's on in the background after you've gotten that 20 minutes and you're blow drying your hair, it's not going to do any harm. Like, you can leave it on, turn it off when you leave the bathroom. But yeah, you really want it to be high dose is the whole point.
Let's say that it's not possible to sit anywhere still for 20 minutes in the morning. And the first time you actually have the ability to sit still is maybe if you're hitting your office and you're in an office that has no windows, very common for many people. Is there still benefit for trying to use one?
Officially, not a ton of evidence, but
okay.
Speaking from somebody who has worked in a windowless resident workroom and we had a light box, it honestly was wonderful. We put little curtains over it. We pretended it was a window to a bright sunny afternoon, and that helped.
Is there a point where you're like, okay, this is too much? Like, I've had it on for 3 hours because, again, I'm like stuck without windows, etc. I like how it makes me feel. I'm not looking directly at it. Are you counterproductive at some point if you do too much light therapy?
Right. So the things you have to worry about are a phase delay in your sleep, right? So I have one patient who loved it, and she was using it at dinner time too, and then she stopped sleeping. If you are bipolar and you have had a true manic episode, watch it. Really stick to the 20 minutes. Don't go too nuts with it, because that can actually precipitate a little bit of mania.
Okay.
So
That's good advice.
I looked up on Amazon seasonal affective disorder just to see what came up the other day. And they actually have it in glasses. I don't know if you've seen
they have. So now they're trying to do different delivery mechanisms, right?
Yeah.
Because it is logistically challenging. So they have a visor, right, that I thought looked cool.
Yeah.
Officially, only the light boxes are what have like actual FDA pending, kind of stuff. Like they've actually have been peer-reviewed evidence study. But frankly, anything that help, like, if it's something, if you're more, here's the thing, a light box that's not utilized doesn't help you at all. So if one of these products is something that you're more likely to actually utilize, then sure.
They do seem pretty expensive when I was looking at. There's some, the cheapest ones are about $70, but most of them are $150 to $200 for the glasses.
I think if you're going to do
light
that,
boxes seem cheaper.
You try the light box first, see if you benefit from it, and then that can be an alternative delivery mode.
And when we talk about effectiveness, is this something for individuals who experience seasonal affective disorder? Is this the only form of treatment some people need? Is it more of something that you use in conjunction with medications? Or what have you seen in your practice?
It's a mix, but most of my patients are already on medicines because I'm a psychiatrist. And we talk about like a dose bump up in September, like all September long. I start reminding people like, hey, tell your patients who struggle in the winter, like they need to start, go get that light box out of the attic, do what you need to do. If you're on 10 of Prozac, maybe we go up to 20 for the next, 4 or 5 months, and we see how,
So even getting that, starting the light box even before daylight savings time.
I say the first day so what I tell some of my patients who we know, like, you can set your clock to it, they're going to start getting real grouchy. The first, crisp day, the first time you kind of whew, remember this conversation, go get your light box. just have it there. You may not even, but just go ahead and have it at the ready, because that's all it takes is like that first, because then they associate so much with the last time they felt awful that the first little signs of chilliness, they're like, oh no, they already start doing that like dread. So just get ahead of it.
And
like, know it's coming. It is what it is. Get ahead of it.
And that's great on when to start. Now, is this something that you continue up until a certain time of year, or do you wait for a temperature change?
As the days get nicer, they find that they don't really need it. And then they're like, oh, I haven't used that in a couple weeks. And they put it away. But typically I say at least commit like through March. In Kentucky and Lexington especially, yeah, through March. I mean, we get gross stuff even in April.
For people that may just have winter blues, is it benefit to try to get natural light as well? Like even when it's cold, making sure you are opening your windows and getting as much natural light. Is that beneficial for people?
Yeah, for sure. And like even if that means that while you're sitting at the house, you just like drag your chair over to the window and sit by the window. Like even that is better than being in a dark room.
I'll confess, there have been times when it's been really cold that I will just open my front door and sit right in front of it just to get sun.
Yeah.
I would love to drive by and see you, Sarah, just sitting there shivering with your front door open.
I'm someone who definitely feels the improvement in my mood and functioning when I get enough natural light. So, yes, I have sat in front of my door.
Yeah. Even little bits help. I mean, even just like down to the mailbox.
Yeah.
That's like actually enough.
So getting outside, obviously, whenever you can is important. And is there anything timing-wise with that? If you're just, like, let's say you just have winter blues, you're not really all the way to seasonal affective disorder. Right. Is there anything as far as getting outside in the morning, getting outside in the afternoon? Obviously, whenever you can, but
honestly, whenever you're going to feel more inclined to go out when the weather is even remotely, but really it's so hard to get outside when it's winter that whenever you can, just go. Like any little bit of fresh air genuinely is helpful.
But especially like maybe if the clouds break and the sun actually peeks out, get out there.
If you see the sun and you haven't in a minute, like go let it hit your face. Maybe if we smile at it, it'll stay.
And I think if you are someone that works and you are going to work when it's dark and you are coming home when it's dark, and I've had many a time in my life where that has been the case.
Entire residency.
All of February.
That can really be hard. So try to think about your day. Can you get outside at any time for even just a few minutes at lunch or during a break? And instead of just sitting and scrolling your phone inside, try to get outside.
Just be deliberate. Take a brisk 5-minute walk. Like that's really all it takes. Or purposely leave something in your car and make yourself go get it.
Oh, great idea.
And another thing that I look forward to, and I don't know if there's actual help in this, but I like to think it does, is taking a trip or a vacation to somewhere that has more sunlight in the winter. Is it going to help boost your mood if you struggle with this?
I mean, I think so, yeah. I mean, it's our serotonin levels are actually lower in the wintertime. Like we secrete, the turnover is lower. We produce less. Like it really, again, we really are light dependent, kind of more than we realize. So yeah, if you go to some place where you have not just, a couple minutes in the morning of bright sunlight, but a full few days or a week even of bright sunlight, it really does help. And bonus points if you plan it later in the season, so you can have that anticipatory benefit where you're planning and you're getting excited and you have, thank goodness we have that coming at least, and you can just like look at pictures of Cancun while you're shivering.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I found, because in thinking about this episode, and we had talked about that, and I looked up a picture of the beach, and I was like, I actually immediately felt better just looking at someone else on the beach.
Yeah. Like somewhere on Earth, it's like that right now. Yes. It's not like this everywhere.
Maybe considering now that they have all these, you can find on YouTube these screensavers to put on your TV that are like a warm fire. Maybe we just need to start putting beaches up.
Yeah. Thinking about how important it is to get sunlight and be awake and alert, is there anything different people should be doing with their sleep? I feel like I notice a lot of people kind of lounging in bed more in the evenings instead of just
when it's dark outside, you kind of just want to turn it in. So you kind of just want to go to sleep earlier. And so when you go to sleep earlier, that gives you like a phase advance. So the earlier you go to sleep, the earlier you're going to wake up. And that's what starts getting your melatonin all out of whack. And so then, nobody likes early morning awakenings. Like you'd much rather be awake at 10 p.m. than 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 3 a.m., you know? So the biggest thing about the sleep is actually try and watch the clock. And it stinks because they change the clock on you. So daylight savings makes it even worse. But yeah, watch the clock and try to actually maintain a consistent, you know, I know this sounds like dumb, but just the consistent sleep regimen. Like, try to go to sleep around the same time, even though it's winter. Like, stay up and play board games, read. But don't use the bed to hang out, because really the bed should really just be for sleeping and intimacy. Like, that's all you're supposed to do in bed. That's where a lot of the basis for insomnia comes from.
Yeah, so, and, you know, we always talk about Sarah's bedtime routine, but you want to keep that bedtime routine consistent. Try to hold off on, if you're somebody that just likes to lounge in bed from as soon as you finish dinner until bedtime, that's probably not going to serve you well. Even though it's dark outside, you still need to try to hold off to your regular bedtime,
right,
to go to sleep.
And waking up from sleep, is there anything else that you recommend at this time of year to do differently? Or is it more just the issues that people going to bed that you see?
I think give yourself more time. Like, I need a minute when the room is really cold. Like, even if you've got the house turned up, it's cold. Give yourself a little more time in the mornings. And one thing that can sometimes help people, if the alarm always feels like it's too soon, is they make these alarm clocks now that kind of simulate natural dawn. They very gradually get brighter and brighter. It's like an orb. Sometimes they're aesthetic.
We have one.
Okay, very good. Yes. Yeah. So it basically stares you in the eyeball. Like, okay, like, can't ignore me. And, you know, do you like it?
Well, honestly, I am like a super early morning person. I am that annoying person in your life that like loves to get up at 5 a.m., get started. And so I'm actually up and going before it goes off for my husband, but I think he has enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I know I'm not a morning person. And if you're not a morning person, the winters are even harder because they're colder and darker and just like, meh. So the easing into it is nice if you can.
And is that also helpful for kids? Because I feel like my kids right now, at the beginning of school year, they were like ready to go out of bed, and now we're in the struggle bus mode.
We have to do multiple rounds. Like, round one is I open your door and I turn the hall lights on, you know, the foyer lights on. So you get indirect, it's shining in. Like, you hear me, you know I'm up, but I'm giving you a minute to, like, you know, like be grouchy. And then after, like, we have like, and then I open the door all the way. Oh. That's so there's
so you're making your own kind of dawn simulation by
we're titrating, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Great. If anyone else is experiencing this with your kids, great tips here. When we're also trying to help with management of mood disorders in wintertime, we always are trying to promote to listeners is the importance of physical activity and that movement. Winter can make that feel harder in that regard. But with that being said, for people who are struggling, is it still worth the effort of trying to get up and move your body to help with your mood specifically?
Yes, always. Unfortunately. I don't like to do it either. And interestingly, so there's no particular time of day when it's more beneficial. There's only the caution that, like, obviously don't do it within like an hour of anticipated bedtime because then heart rate's too high. But they showed that exercise under bright light. So like actually kind of the light that you often have at like the gym, womp womp, is actually more beneficial than exercise without like in dim light. They did a
study on this. Wow, fascinating.
That's really interesting. There is a lot of data behind exercise and mood. So I think the majority of the studies seem to be geared towards aerobic activity and the benefit of aerobic activity on depression. But I think with the popularity of resistance training coming in, it looks like more studies are starting to come out on that. I saw a few things where it seems to particularly benefit anxiety and PTSD. But I think really the key to any of it here is you need to do something that you can do and be consistent with. So if that's aerobic activity or if that's resistance training, whichever one is going to actually get you to do it is probably the most important thing.
And when we have months like we've had with lots of snow and even walking outside becomes challenging, just a reminder, think about other places that you can go and do some laps. There's nothing wrong with mall walking.
I love mall walking.
There's
nothing wrong with it.
Sane, yeah.
And Leslie, you mentioned you're a people watcher.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Mall walking is the
mall
best.
Walking is,
oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yum.
Another thing I like to mention, because they are much more affordable than a treadmill, is walking pads. You can have them in your house in the winter. You fold them up and put them away for the summertime when you're able to do all that outdoor walking that you love, because that's a great way to get some steps in as well.
Specifically here in Lexington, Fayette Mall opens at 9:30 for mall walkers. So it's 30 minutes before the shops open. So wherever you are, it's probably 30 minutes before the shops open. Also, if you are someone that tends to enjoy walking or running outside and you struggle during these winter months, there might be some centers in town. You may not have to go all the way as far as joining a gym to find somewhere to exercise. I just got online and looked up indoor walking tracks in Lexington and found Calvary Baptist Recreation Center has $10 a month for being able to walk on their indoor track and use the equipment they have there. So, wherever you are, just look up for your city indoor walking tracks and see if you can find somewhere to walk if in your house is not working for you.
Another idea is consider inviting a friend, because in this time we feel like we're not getting as much social connection because everyone's hunkering down in their homes. And I know that also can have an impact. I'll let Leslie explain some of this in how important it is to be connecting with individuals when you're struggling this time of year.
We've spent 99% of our existence as a species as hunter-gatherers, and they are pack animals. They're meant to live in community. Like, that is how we are hardwired. So our very hyper individualistic, everyone's siloed off in their own homes, it's lonely, and we're not meant to live like that. It's hard. So even in your own home, notice if everyone's off in their own bedroom on a device or something. Try be annoying and be like, everyone come hang out with me. Make your family hang out with you. If you're lucky enough to live with people, make them hang out with you. And then even the degree to which you're actually communicating correlates with the benefit you get from it. So sharing a meme, low benefit. That's nice. It keeps the connection alive. But texting, depending on how in depth you're getting, a little better. But a phone call really helps. FaceTiming's even better if you want to be look at my house, it's a disaster. It's helpful to actually have that validation in real time and have that sense of we're going through this together. Got it. Okay, I got you. You got me. We can get through this together. It feels much more palatable when you have strength in numbers.
Another subgroup that I just want to be sure we're giving ideas to is for, say, individuals that have just moved to a location or they are at home alone. What are some ideas that you throw out there for people trying to make social connections in those scenarios?
Yeah, that's tricky anywhere. Ideally, anything that forces interaction, so a class or, if you're at all religiously inclined, that's usually a quick, easy way to get plugged in. It can start as just simply as making conversation with the cashier. Any human interaction is truly beneficial. It really does help to have face-to-face interactions, and we've gotten away from that as a society, but maybe that correlates with our record high levels of anxiety and depression. Yeah. I don't know. So, even just don't self-checkout. Go to the checkout and ask, how's your day going or something. Or compliment somebody's shirt. I like your shirt. It's not hard to do. And, you get a smile back, and, they've done studies. And even just being smiled at gives you a little spurt of dopamine. It's all beneficial. We should be talking to each other more.
Yeah, and everyone benefits. Everyone benefit. You benefit. If you're standing in line, they're strangers. It's okay to not look at your phone and talk to people around you.
The progression of communication, meme, texting,
from meme to FaceTime.
Yeah,
they're not the same.
So if you are someone that's snowed in and you live alone, maybe really trying to do FaceTime or maybe even planning if you know you're going to be snowed in, do you want to be snowed in with a friend or family?
Kind of like COVID.
For a few days.
You can make a little cohort.
Yeah, really kind of thinking that through. And I really like your idea of taking a class, too. There's all sorts of free things. I think we've mentioned before that we record here at the public library. The library has free classes going on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you need somewhere to just kind of go and see some people, you could check out something at the library. But I know there's a lot of other opportunities out there that are free.
Or even interest groups. That sometimes is a low threshold, just because if you already are interested in something, it's easier to make that connection with other people that like the same things.
It is hard for adults. And, most of us are mostly friends with people we went to school with, work with, or who are the parents of our kids' friends. So if you're truly moving to a new area by yourself, that is hard. So you really kind of have to just put yourself out there, and not everyone's going to click with you, but any interaction helps, and then you'll find your people.
even if you don't have anywhere to be someday, just having your coffee at a coffee shop instead of at home, just anything you can do to get out and be around other people, even if you're not having in-depth conversations with them, is probably helpful. Especially, it's helpful all times of the year, I think, but especially this time of year.
Right.
Is there benefit in volunteering? Do you notice, is it truly, do you get that benefit in your neurotransmitters by doing it?
Yes, you absolutely do. And I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that's a great way to meet people, is just go pack food boxes. That's a quick and easy. I mean, a bunch of churches are always doing that. There's, food banks in your area, or even just small favors. I made my kids help shovel the neighbor's driveway, and that was, they felt super good about it. They came back and were felt really proud. But yeah, volunteering and actually doing for others, it's counterintuitive. When you're just so amotivated that even just getting out of bed seems hard, somehow people can pull it together for others better than they can for themselves. So if you force yourself to do something for somebody else, you committed to bringing somebody dinner, so you gotta do it. But then when you go and you drop it off and you visit for a little bit, it really was nice and it was great to see them. It's something, if you set yourself up and then you follow through, it actually will feel really good, and you get an immediate dopamine release from doing something that was anticipated and then satisfied.
I love that. And another one that's my favorite, Kitty's going to laugh, is I'm big on gratitude.
Yeah.
So when we are in these times where last week felt it, needed lots of gratitude.
To stay home with your kids.
But in those scenarios, you don't feel there's no way me practicing gratitude's helping. But my question to you, is it?
It is. It's a reframe, really, right? I always say that the biggest difference between an ordeal and an adventure is just your attitude. You're already in a grouchy place and there's a small inconvenience. It's ugh, gosh, great, now I have to deal with this, right? Because you're already in a bad mood and this is just one more thing. But if you've got a more positive outlook, they're oh, well, this happens. The same exact stimulus will have a very different response depending on what your mood was at the moment, right? So that applies more broadly, big on zooming out. So whatever issue you're dealing with in that moment, yeah, it super sucks. Validate that. This feels bad. I don't like it. But zoom out a little bit and will this matter in an hour or a week or a year or usually it's no, it will not. I'm just annoyed, and I can recognize that's just all it is. I feel annoyed right now because the situation is irritating and it will pass. Moving on, versus getting stuck in it and bogged down and feeling victimized by it because everything sucks. So the more you see it as we're lucky to be here, then the inconveniences don't really seem as
that practice has helped me tremendously. Yeah. So I know that I talk about it a lot, but I really think that bad days can really improve by just taking a moment. Love that the analogy of zooming out, thinking about what you're grateful for. What are those positive things that are happening so you can reframe your whole situation and not let it spiral.
Yeah. And I will have to say, I probably would have rolled my eyes at that a few years ago, someone saying that, and be really? Okay. Having a positive thought is going to make me think this day is better. But now that I have done that more regularly, it is amazing to me.
It's the whole basis of CBT. It's evidence-based. Thoughts, you cannot really change your feelings a whole lot, but you can affect your thoughts and your behaviors. Thoughts are harder because those are kind of automatic. So you start with behaviors and then you zoom it out to thoughts. But once you can kind of control your thoughts, your feelings feel different. You feel different feelings because what your brain is telling yourself about the situation is different. It's a better narrative. It's not one where you feel helpless. Yeah, I mean, everyone needs to wallow a minute. I get it. That's why you have the certain friends you have to call, and they're not going to judge you. They know you're just needing to vent. You need to whine a little bit.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay. Yes, no names, but and back at you. But once you get it out, then just keep zooming out until you're this is honestly a pretty first world small problem. When you look at the greater scale of all the human beings living on this earth, holy smokes, we have it really good.
And you mentioned CBT a second ago, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is kind of the gold standard of therapy to help with mood disorders. So in my search the other day,
there's a new subset that's specifically directed at seasonal affective disorder. Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to see
activities.
What came up on Amazon when I searched seasonal affective disorder. So I've already mentioned those glasses.
Yes.
But there were quite a few CBT workbooks that came up. Is that something you have any experience with or ever see anyone do, or is it worth someone trying?
Yeah. I mean, here's what you get is what you give, right? So if you really want to get something out of it and you're a pretty insightful person, you have to kind of see. But most people can can do a workbook and do some self-guided, at least a lot of groundwork. If after that you're still kind of angsty and you go to therapy, if you've already done all that, boy, you can get so much done right away. You can immediately start working on skills, so either way, it's not lost, but most people really benefit from it. Something that just kind of helps remind you of like automatic negative thoughts that are just popping into your head. Like thoughts are just thoughts. They just spam you all day. You don't have to attend to every thought that comes across. Like if it's one that's like an irritated negative thought, you can be bleh, smack it away. Like you don't need that one. Like it's a conscious decision that you can edit your thoughts, and it actually does make you feel better.
Yeah, that's great.
But the workbooks actually do help. Like if you want some structure, because like where to start. And a lot of people are not wanting to I don't think it's so bad that I want to get into a therapist. It's
right.
Like, but
or spend the money on that.
Or spend
I think
the money,
is what people think about.
Yeah. So the workbooks are really helpful. And if some people do them like, oh yeah, I thought it was helpful. But if you do it and you're like, wow, this really is making a lot of sense. Like I'm feeling a lot better, then great, you benefited. But also maybe you want to take it a step further and do something obviously more tailored and individualized and like individual therapy. But it's not ever going to be time wasted, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think that one thing we have to remember too, because I think we all struggle through this time of year, and then we finally get to March or in April, and we're like, oh yeah, life is good, we're loving it, and then we kind of forget that this is going to come back.
Who's she? I don't know her. No, you have to, you plan for it, you anticipate it, and you just prep. You know this is coming.
So maybe like putting the time in one of these years, this year or next year, going through one of that. Remember, even though it may seem annoying, you may not really want to do it, it may benefit you for all these winters that are going to be coming back again.
Yeah, just recognize that like this is what I tell myself. I don't need to feel this dread every time the days are getting a little shorter. Like if you know that that's what your brain tends to do, then get ahead of it. And you really can if you just recognize, and some people I have patients that only go on medicine half the year. They start their Prozac in September. Or, I just keep saying Prozac as generally. But yes, they start their SSRI in September, and then they usually come off it by like March or April.
That was one thing I definitely wanted to ask you about today is for somebody that is recognizing, yes, this is hard for me every winter. I really struggle. I do find myself isolating, not wanting to leave the house as much. When should they talk to their doctor about it?
I would, again, get ahead of it. So I would try to be in there by even like end of summer. Because once the fall starts, especially if you have kids, once they get back into school, it just gets so insanely busy so fast. And then are you really going to make that time for yourself? Are you going to really remember and be like, this really does suck every year. I should get ahead of this. Yes, but how many of us actually make appointments for ourselves and keep them? Like try to do it maybe at the end of the summer and be like, hey, I know this is a thing. I want to establish care. And then when you need it, you just slide back in like September, October, like, okay, I'm ready for that now. Or you can even fill the script and be like, I will take this when I usually say like mid-September.
Start because
it takes about a month to really, reach full efficacy. So if you want to have the benefit already on board by the time you're feeling bad, start early.
Yes. If you struggle, maybe like even setting a reminder on your phone, remind me September, whatever, to start my light therapy and start my medicine.
It's the end of all the fun.
And if you are trying to be proactive and doing all these different lifestyle things that we're talking about today and doing the light therapy, what are some of those guidelines to be like, okay, this isn't enough, I need to seek additional care that you would advise?
Yeah, I mean, if you're having thoughts of hopelessness, if people are noticing that your personality is different, that you see, if people are commenting like, "Hey, are you all right? You seem down," that's usually an indicator that like, you're with yourself every day. But if people who don't see you often are seeming concerned, then that's an indicator that you probably need to get in and get assessed. Or if those who love you are expressing concern, they're probably right. Like you. Or at least give them the benefit of the doubt and sniff it out. But really just look at your functioning. If like on a large scale, it's all about functioning. So if your main domains of functioning are what? Work, home, and social. So if you are not, things are not going well at work, if you are really struggling at home, if socially you've not called or talked to your friends and you've, not returned texts, like those are all indicators like, this might be something that you want to get actual treatment for. Because you don't need to live half your life, it's because it's half the year. Just about. It's like 5 months. You don't need to live that much of your life feeling down.
And it's perfectly fine. Like, you shouldn't feel like that's a failure on your part.
No.
Or, I think a lot of people don't want to admit that they're that far and that they do need that help. But you should, because winter comes every year. And if you could enjoy it a little bit more or function a little bit better.
Or just not dread it so
Yeah,
much.
or not dread it. Like that would be good. And, another thing, just thinking about things that can help is one of Sarah and I's favorite topics.
Nutrition!
Nutrition.
So in the winter, we do have this innate ability to crave things that are higher in carbs, and we even see ourselves changing some of our dietary patterns when it is cold outside, and is making sure we're leaning into foods that are going to help our mood and not leaning into the foods that may put us at higher risk for depressive symptoms. And the literature really shows that diets that are really high in processed meats, those refined grains and sweets, and high fat foods are the ones that tend to cause or show an association with higher depressive symptoms. So remembering that our food is medicine to us as well, and making sure that we're taking time to incorporate fruits and vegetables, even though they're not as seasonal this time of year, so it doesn't feel like it's as natural to do, but it is something that we want to continue to make sure we have as a focus in our diet because of the benefit it will have.
Yeah, and nutritional psychiatry is really a field that is up and coming. There's a lot more research. I know like a lot of the national psychiatric foundations are focusing more on nutrition and lifestyle and all of these things. And so I think it's going to be something we see a lot more of. A few things just to think about that do have evidence behind them. One would be the Mediterranean diet. And so this is going to be a diet really rich in lots of fruits and vegetables, nuts, fish, olive oil, just trying to focus on that. Really diversify your diet can be helpful too. So when they've studied the gut microbiota, which is one of my favorite new topics, they find that people with depression tend to have less variety in the types of bacteria that are in their gut. And so we really want to kind of go back to how can I make myself feel the best? And that's going to be eating a wide variety. So apples, berries, grapes, any of those leafy
Citrus, especially in
greens.
the winter.
But all of those things are going to help you support your gut microbiota that actually support your brain. So we want to fuel those bacteria that actually show benefit to our mood.
Another big bucket would be omega-3s. We have shown that diets that are higher in omega-3s, and when I talk about omega-3s, if you are not familiar with that, that is the type of fatty acids that we get from fatty fish. So that is going to be our DHA, EPA, and that is fish like salmon or tuna or mackerel or sardines, anchovies. Those things are going to be really high in those omega-3s. We can also get omega-3s from seaweed. That's another place where you can get the DHA, EPA. And then we have some other plants that are going to give us omega-3s in the form of ALAs and that type of fatty acid. And that is going to come from chia seeds, flaxseed, walnuts. The one thing, if you're trying
Don't forget about hemp seeds.
Oh, hemp seeds, sorry.
My
Kitty's
favorite.
But in those, when I just like people to realize the fatty fish forms of omega-3s, you have to eat less of those to get the same bang for your buck, per se, because those seeds, since they're in the ALA form, our body has to actually convert those to the DHA, EPA form in order to be utilized. So you have to just have a higher concentration of those type of omega-3s to get the same effect. All of those things, though, are going to increase that in our diet, and we have seen improvement in bipolar, depression, and PTSD with a higher omega-3 fatty acid concentration.
So maybe if you're thinking about meal planning, which, we like to talk about, substituting one of your normal red meat dinners for a salmon dinner, that would be something you could do to try to help with things. Just really making sure the seeds are a great way to get a lot of the micronutrients like iron and zinc and magnesium. And I love seeds, as you know. But
I'm learning so much.
Yeah, the pumpkin seeds, the hemp seeds. If you're getting those in, then that's going to help with that.
Do you have to crush them between your teeth for them to be useful, or because that's the thing? If you I've seen in my kids' poop, like whole flax seeds. Like,
So the flax seeds do need to be ground.
Okay.
I've just put you can either get them ground
no,
or
they're in tortilla chips. Okay. Does that not? So that's
those don't count, yeah. Or you can, if you get them regularly, you can crush them like in a coffee grinder that and just sprinkle them on something.
yeah, it just gives some texture.
Now the hemp seeds already come shelled, so that's easy to sprinkle on things. And I think it's easy to put pumpkin seeds on almost anything too.
And chia seeds, one of my favorite ways to use chia seeds is I have like a tablespoon in a bag and you just put a tablespoon. Caution. So I say this because what happens to a lot of people, they get really excited about seeds and then they start putting like 3 tablespoons worth.
No, chias plump up.
And then of note, that would be such a high fiber load. So that's too much and you'll be running to the bathroom. So if you're trying to increase these in your diet, we want you to do it slowly and not to do it all at once. But chia seeds on yogurt give a nice little crunch, or on oatmeal. It's a great way to add that into your diet.
Yeah, and then if you're mixing the chia seeds and yogurt, that's going to have a little prebiotic effect there for that. And there are actually probiotics now marketed for mental health. So probiotics for depression and anxiety. Have you had any experience with these, Leslie?
I mean, the evidence looks promising. It all makes sense. I mean, there are more serotonin receptors in your gut than there are in your entire spinal cord. Like in every culture, there is some version of the expression, trust your gut instinct. Like our gut is very sensitive to emotional state. Like it all makes sense that like so much of it would depend on the health of our gut.
My research so far on this looks like lactobacillus and bifidobacteria seem to be the two that you want to fuel the most if you're trying to boost mood. A few things you could try to incorporate into your diet to help with that particular group of bacteria the most would be things like onion, celery, garlic, artichokes. And so when I was looking at that list, I was thinking soup.
Remember that the bacteria is your probiotics, but if you are getting these bacteria in your gut and you're not feeding them, you're not actually getting the full benefit. So that's what Kitty was talking about. It's like we have to feed those probiotics so that bacteria with these healthy foods that they like to eat to get all of those benefits.
Just think about when you're going to the grocery store, you want to think about what can I add to whatever meal I'm thinking about to get the best effect. So adding seeds, adding other fruits and vegetables, all those leafy greens are going to help. And then whole grains are a great way to fuel your good bacteria as well. So think about that, plus your beans and lentils. And I've been trying, anytime I'm doing something with ground beef like chili or anything else, I put a can of lentils in there when I'm browning it. And no one notices.
I like that tip.
Yeah.
My family does not like beans in their chili. They like it like
Just meat.
And tomatoes.
Yeah.
And so I can put the lentils in. And then this last time I even took a can of beans and just mashed it with a potato masher and put that in there. And so,
White beans.
we
You can add
got a
white beans
ton
to
more
anything.
fiber in that. And no one had any idea.
Until
You
they
are
hear
always
this.
so sneaky.
I am so sneaky.
Until no.
And then I guess, Leslie, is there anything else that we have not touched on in this group? That you
Vitamin D. We
Okay.
can't.
Oh, yes.
We can't.
Yes,
we
thank
can't
you
leave,
for that reminder.
Yeah, we cannot leave seasonal issues without vitamin D. So yeah, vitamin D, we get it from somewhat from nutrition, but overwhelmingly from conversion in our skin. So when we don't have UV light all winter long, like all of our vitamin D levels dip, and evolutionarily, I think that's another one of the signal cascades that tells us to slow down and take it easy. But that's not what we do. So we need to just again hijack our brains and replace the vitamin D. Your level should be 30 or higher. But in reality, a lot of the chronologists I've talked to, they say it should be far higher. Like 30 is a very underestimate of where we want our vitamin D level. So if you go and get your labs checked and they're like, oh, you're actually good, you've got 31, I would still supplement. If your levels are decent, then 1,000 IUs a day.
Yeah, I'm taking about 2,000 units a day.
That's what mine is.
Right now.
Yeah.
I forget some days.
In regards to vitamin D, is there any connection with that in seasonal affective disorder?
Well, yeah, vitamin D does affect mood, and we know it dips in the winter. So yes, for me, It's just more protective, but it's a multifactorial picture. Like,
Any feelings about magnesium? I know that's one that,
yeah,
that
that
a
one's
lot of
I have
people
a lot of
recommend.
patients with anxiety who actually have, because it's pretty cheap, they actually have been benefiting. I think taking it at night it probably is helpful. Again, that's not one that's likely to cause much harm. So if you wanted to try it. Another one that you could try SSRI that it's not for seasonal, but it's for any time that you might be low. If you are heterozygous or even have a homozygous deficiency for your MTHFR gene, which is where you methylate folate, it's a critical step in the synthesis of dopamine and serotonin. A fair amount of people actually have a deficiency or have a defective functioning of that protein. And what you would do is just take methylated folate. So it's not the folate that you take when you're pregnant. It specifically needs to be methylated because that's what's not happening in the chain reaction. Doing that and just assessing, take it for like 6 weeks and see if you feel better. If you don't, then maybe you have normal function of that gene. But a lot of people, that's the way you figure it out, is take that and be like, wow, that really helped. It's as good as an SSRI. If you're on an SSRI and it's kind of petered out, consider taking methylated folate because all an SSRI does is block the reuptake of serotonin. But if the absolute quantity of serotonin in your brain is not adequate, then you can block its reuptake all you want. You're not going to benefit beyond a certain point. So taking methylated folate actually helps you synthesize more, along with obviously a good diet.
If you are on medicine or you think you might want to be on medicine during this time, sometimes the side effects that people worry about or might keep them from starting or that people struggle with are usually dose dependent, meaning that the higher the dose of medicine you're on, the more likely you're going to have a side effect. So if you can do these other things like improve your diet, exercise,
then you can get away with a lot less medicine.
Then you can use less medicine and then hopefully have less side effects. So remember, you don't have to just do one thing. Like if you decide you need medicine, doesn't mean stop doing this other stuff too.
Right, because the other stuff is probably more beneficial. The medicine is just kind of evening the playing field a little bit.
So a lot of things for your toolbox to help you get through this winter.
We just bombarded you all. Save this show and listen to it in September so you are reminded of what you need to do in order to gear up for winter in 2025. And then use these tools for the rest of this winter to help kind of get you through this. But we really want you to learn how to manage this over the long term so you can have better success in the winter.
Right. So just summarizing really quick some things we learned from Leslie. Think ahead. Winter comes every single year. So start thinking about things in September if you know you need to see your doctor and talk about medications next time. If you need to get out your seasonal affective disorder lamp or glasses, go ahead and start doing that as soon as you start feeling that crisp winter air coming in the fall. Make sure you are still getting as much light as you can naturally, and so try to figure out where you can do that in your day, or just open your front door and sit.
Or even just turn all the lights on in your house.
Yeah,
truly any bright light is helpful. So don't hunker down in a cave.
And definitely give these light boxes a try. It seems like there's definitely enough evidence to it's worth trying it and seeing
high potential reward.
If it's going to help you. Make sure you're still maintaining your social connections. Make sure you're still maintaining your usual sleep routine. And then maybe, Sarah and I talk a lot about trying to fit little bursts of exercise in. This might be a time of year where actually see if you can get a longer burst of exercise in, because this may be where it helps you the most. So get that exercise in, focus on your nutrition, and if you can, plan a vacation.
Where are we going?
And then we do want to announce what this next week's challenge is. And based off this show, we talked a lot about that social connection piece. And we want you to consider doing an act of kindness every day for 1 week. Pay attention to how you feel doing it, paying attention to those that you're helping and the impact you can do. And these can be very simple. It can be paying for the person behind you in line, pay for their coffee. Or if you know someone who's just had a baby, deliver them dinner to help them out. These can be very, very simple things that have a big impact.
Yeah, even just letting someone turn in front of you that's been waiting forever for traffic. So something as simple as that, or shoveling your neighbor's driveway, like Leslie mentioned.
Somebody cut in front of you in line.
Yes, little things can be big. So try to do something like that every day. And then remember, if you want to sign up to hear more about our weekly habit challenge, check out betterhealthlibrary.com and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. We'd love to hear more from you about topics and things that you want to know more about. So click on the link that says send us a text or send us an email to contact@thestartinggatepodcast.com. See you next time.